Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you everybody for joining us here tonight for our update on the NOD's AIM education program. It's been a little while in the making with regards to the revamping of this program, and so we thought that now would be the perfect time to go ahead and showcase all of those changes and all the hard work that's been put into it. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank Jazz Durr, the president of the NOD, and Colleen Dorion, our operations manager for the NOD, for being here and kind of just being the backbone that helps us get on with it day to day. And I also want to thank Heather Gillis for agreeing to put together this presentation for us. So I'm Jasmine Police, and I am the student chair rep on the NOD. I act as the liaison between the NOD exec and the student membership. And I'd also like to thank my student reps, many of who I see here have signed in. So thank you guys for your work on getting the word out. I appreciate that. So let me just give a little intro with regards to Heather, and we will get on with it. So Heather Gillis has been an instructor and an examiner within the NOD for a few years now. She's also the current chair of the Education Committee and past chair of the Education Committee, and she's full-time faculty within Western's Masters of Clinical Science program. And I know she is very highly regarded within the physio circle. So again, thank you, Heather, for hosting this for us. I also wanted to give a very quick shout out to everybody who's been involved with the revamping of this program. So Heather and the Education Committee, as well as Cheryl Rutherford, Leonardine Levesque, Andrea McAllister, and members of the AQPMA division in Quebec who have been instrumental in translating the program for us. So thank you very much. And to our Francophone members, feel free to ask questions in French. On pourra toujours les traduire pour vous, et en même temps, il y aura une autre présentation qui aura lieu en février avec Josiane Roberge. Alors, si jamais vous vous sentez plus à l'aise d'y aller en français, la présentation est en train d'être organisée. Alors, soyez à l'écoute de vos courriels, puis ça s'en vient bientôt. So Heather, I will leave it up to you. Any questions with regards to the presentation, please write them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. So some of the objectives of this discussion tonight is to outline the pathway of the AIM education program. We're going to describe some of the recent program updates and then review some of the benefits of the AIM program. We'd like to outline some of the strategies that we've incorporated in order to deliver the AIM education during the era of COVID. And I really want to leave some time at the end just to engage some of the members' questions. So welcome to everyone. I was really quite thrilled and overwhelmed to find out how many people were interested in joining us tonight. And thank you for joining. So on behalf of the Education Committee and the NOD Executive, welcome to all of you who are taking time out to learn more about the AIM education program. And I'd like to congratulate you all on taking such an active role in researching your post-professional educational opportunities. And thank you for considering AIM. I really do think that it is great to see so many people actually actively and looking in a very discerning way at post-professional education. So looking at objective 1, I'd just like to outline the AIM education program and system. So the first course upon entry is the level 1 course. This is a 5-day course. You can also challenge this course certificate by challenging the MCQ exam without actually taking the course. So many graduates of physiotherapy programs here in Canada do tend to challenge that MCQ examination at the end of their physiotherapy degree. But the level 1 courses are available, and they do run in provinces across this country. Upon successful completion of the level 1 course, then you can engage in one of the 2 level 2 courses. You're not required to start with a lower or upper. It is whatever is convenient and of your choice. Once you take a level 2 course, at that point in time, you can either take the other level 2. So if you start with the level 2 upper quadrant course, you have the choice of going to the level 2 lower quadrant course, or you could continue and take the level 3 upper quadrant course. And I know that that is often a point of confusion for a lot of candidates in the system. They feel that they need to complete both of the level 2 courses before advancing to the level 3 courses, but that's not the case. Once you've completed both of the level 2 courses and both of the level 3 courses and done so successfully, you'll receive a certificate of completion for each of those courses. At that point in time, you might be interested in challenging the intermediate practical examination. And in order to do that, you'll want to collect clinical mentorship hours. We currently require 90 hours of clinical supervision. 55 of those hours need to be with an FCAMT certified therapist who is a registered mentor with the orthopedic division system. And 35 of those hours need to be with other peers working collaboratively on your educational goals and directives within that program. Your clinical mentorship hours, you can start collecting those at the time of completion of your first level 2 course. Although we do recommend that you do start to collect the majority of those hours towards the end of your level 3 and then in preparation for your intermediate practical examination. The intermediate practical examination is a 2-hour practical, and it looks at techniques that are spinal and peripheral in nature. Because we have integrated spinal manipulation into the level 2 and 3 curriculum, there is examination of spinal manipulation and peripheral manipulation at that level. There's no certificate that's provided for successful completion of the intermediate practical examination. This is really a formative experience in order for candidates to get some experience challenging a practical examination within the NOD format, as well as to ensure that we have a baseline level of competency as we move forward into the system. Following successful completion of the intermediate practical examination, you would be moving on to take the level 4 spinal manipulation course. Now, really that doesn't fully characterize what is entailed in a level 4 course or the level 5 course. Really, spinal manipulation fit well in the box, but really we would look at the level 4 and the level 5 course as advanced spinal care courses, so advanced spinal assessment and management. The practical or technical skills that you're working on primarily is spinal manipulation and refining those techniques, but there's still ongoing assessment and refinement of assessment techniques at both the level 4 and the level 5 course. In addition to this, we're looking at how spinal manipulation integrates into a multimodal treatment approach for people with spinal and peripheral disorders. So with this, you can see here on the right side, we have the critical appraisal and integration of evidence into healthcare practice. So this is a critical appraisal course. It is offered through continuing education at Western University. You can register and take this course at any point in time after having registered into the system, but it needs to be completed by the end of the advanced examination in order to receive your successful diploma. So following the level 4 and the level 5 course, then again, you would be looking at collecting clinical mentorship hours. So we're looking at collecting 60 hours of clinical supervision. And again, this requires 30 hours of direct clinical mentorship with an FCAMT therapist, again, someone who's registered with the NOD Education Committee. And 30 of those hours can be collected with peer who you're working with through the system. Before registering or before challenging the advanced examination, you'll need to complete a new patient assessment that will be completed supervised by an FCAMT therapist. And you'll work together through that new patient assessment, working through your clinical reasoning approach. And that will be submitted at the time of your application for the advanced exam. So the advanced examination is a case history. It's a written case history examination. There's a multiple choice examination associated with it as well as an advanced practical exam. The advanced practical exam, again, is a 2-hour examination. with a focus on spinal techniques. Following successful completion of the case history examination, multiple choice, advanced practical examination, and the critical appraisal course, you will have successfully completed all components, and this will allow you to register with CAMT, or the Canadian Academy of Manipulative Physiotherapists. And at that point in time, you would be recognized as a fellow of CAMT. So we're going to start to look at some of the changes that the Orthopedic Division education system has undergone over the last number of years, looking at our next objective. So the Orthopedic Division has actively engaged in a pathway of rebranding and renewal of our educational materials in keeping with our commitment to advancing evidence-informed practice in orthopedics. So with that, we've looked at renaming of our system and renewal of all of our educational materials. And this has been a process that's been ongoing over the last 5 years. So what are the specifics of that? So the first one is the naming and branding. So prior to this process, the education system for the Orthopedic Division had been previously typically referred to as the ortho courses. And then when we went through a restructure, probably about 17 years ago, they somehow kind of took on the name of the level courses. So when we were looking at renewal of all of our educational materials, we knew that this presented us an opportunity to really brand and rename ourselves. So we went through a lot of stakeholder surveying, and through that we came up with Advanced Integrated Musculoskeletal Physiotherapy Education Program. So if we break that down and break down how we got here, so musculoskeletal. So typically in the past, we looked at our education program as an education program of manual therapy or manipulative therapy. But really, if I go back to the foundations, the roots in the beginning of our education system, we really have always been about musculoskeletal physiotherapy, really about taking on an eclectic, integrated approach, really utilizing the best available evidence, the best available philosophies from across the world. That's who we always were. And part of our techniques have been manual therapy techniques, but we've always been grounded in a biopsychosocial approach, integrating a multimodal package of care. So if we then look at advanced, we really want to reflect that this is taking individuals beyond their entry to practice skills. So this is an advanced program of musculoskeletal physiotherapy education. And then integrated, where did integrated come from? And I think that this really goes back to our history, because we really have always been grounded in a multimodal treatment approach, really integrating the best of all programs from across the world. So the next part of our rebranding and renewal has been a renewal of our education materials. So about 5 years ago, we started on a process of stakeholder feedback and surveys, really trying to understand what our system needed to be able to move our educational materials forward. For many years, we had relied on a version of paper manuals, and we knew that that wasn't really serving our course candidates to the best of our abilities. We weren't able to renew or turn these over rapidly, as there was rapid changes in evidence that was emerging in physiotherapy practice. But it was very difficult to turn over this paper brand product. So with this, we committed to the recreation of these materials and the generation of an ebook format. And that's what we have currently released. So we have released and renewed all of our course clinical manuals, level 1, 2, and 3, as well as our theory manuals. And these have been released on a secure platform. And this is going to allow candidates, as they enter into the system, to be able to download a PDF version of this educational product. That version will remain on your computer forever. Once you register in a course, then you will have access to updates within the system for 3 years. And as long as you continue to register in new courses, you will continue to get access to anything that updates, and you'll be able to download the updates for up to 3 years following your last course. So this makes our system accessible and portable as you engage in your education. Together with this, we have a commitment to ongoing renewal and integration of evidence in musculoskeletal physiotherapy practice. And we're leading in this by the hiring of a knowledge translation leader. So we have commitment from the NOD executive as well as the education committee to bring on a full-time paid position that is going to help to advance evidence-informed practice in musculoskeletal therapy and care. So we're really excited to be able to launch this new position. And now that we've completed the process of generation of our new educational materials through our manuals, we have an ongoing commitment to start this process again. So we're already back into this, looking at our strategic planning and how we move forward in our next steps and any other educational materials that we need to continue to renew. So what are the benefits of the AIM education system? So this is a high quality national system that's community-based education. So this allows candidates to access this post-professional education within their local communities. They're able to do this on their timeline within their time frame. So once you start into the AIM education system, you can start in at a level 1, engage in a level 2. You may take some time out for a period of time just because of life circumstance, and then you can pick up into the system again. Because it's community-based and it's nationwide and it's consistent, this allows individuals to start within the system in Newfoundland, and they could relocate to Vancouver and be able to pick up into the AIM education system at any point of access across the country. We have a standardized curriculum, so there should be reasonable consistency within our educational delivery across the country. This is a high quality, stable system. So the AIM education program, its foundations go back more than 40 years. I think the other benefit of engaging in the AIM education program is that it provides candidates going into the system a confidence and a satisfaction in the delivery of MSK care. I think everybody who's gone through AIM educational programming over the years really feels like when you come out, engage in early years of practice, we often tell candidates to get comfortable being uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, we're still really uncomfortable. And I think by engaging in the AIM education system, we actually can help to ease that level of feeling uncomfortable in clinical practice in those early years of development. The other thing with the AIM education program is that it aids in improving patient outcomes. So I think that with that confidence, with that satisfaction in our own clinical care delivery, it also improves your patient outcomes, patient satisfaction. And this certainly is a strategy in practice building as you move forward. This is a program that's built on a history of embracing multimodal care, as we've said. So Canada has always been known for that across the world. So we've always embraced the best of all programs. You'll find aspects of Maitland, Kaltenborn, Syriacs, Mulligan, Mackenzie, all of those theories of practice and evidence that's been implemented into the AIM education program, and all within a biopsychosocial multimodal delivery. Often I hear people say that when they think about the AIM program, they have concerns because it's expensive. And I think that this is certainly a rumor that circulates, and it's one that I really wanted to take an opportunity to address as we talk about this tonight. So the one great thing about the AIM education program is that although we have courses level 1 through 5, and we do have 2 level 2 courses, 2 level 3 courses, I do understand that when one is looking at the AIM education program, through the tunnel at the start, it looks like it's a lot, but there's no commitment as you engage in the first course. So you're not asked to pay for the whole program up front. And when you do look at the AIM education system and compare it to other competitors in the post-professional marketplace, we are the lowest price per day cost of post-professional education. We get there because we are powered by a legacy, and a legacy of over 40 years of committed volunteerism. This system, this program was built on volunteers. We're a not-for-profit organization, and much of the work that's generated has been generated across decades by volunteers. But what does this mean for people who are looking at engaging in our system? Well, it means that we have a stable, consistent program, and we're committed to delivering education. So we do run courses with small numbers because we want this program to be accessible to everyone from one end of the country, from north to south. One of the biggest benefits of the AIM education program that I think a lot of people look at this and want to engage in it is because this is an internationally accredited program. This program has been accredited by IFOMT. And with that, this provides successful candidates within our system the recognition of being a fellow of the Canadian Academy of Manipulative Physiotherapists, who is the member body for the International Federation of Orthopedic Manipulative Physiotherapists. And so this provides you with recognition from an international body of the level and standard of education that you've achieved. It gives you portability of that credential. So other IFOMT countries are going to recognize your skills and your level of education should you ever choose to leave Canada and practice elsewhere. So what are our strategies currently for ongoing educational delivery here now in the era of COVID-19? So I do want to say that the AIM program has developed strategies for delivering high quality educational programming through the COVID-19 pandemic. At the time last March that we all recall, our educational system had to be shut down for a number of weeks. And during that time, we met as an education committee and as an executive in developing strategies that was going to allow us to move forward once we were able to resume in-person education. So what we are currently delivering right now is a hybrid programming, which is a mix of asynchronous recorded lectures, synchronous in-person online learning, and then there's a reduced in-person contact time, but that contact time that we have developed is purely focused on the delivery and development of technical skill. We have realized that there is many aspects of our program that we are able to deliver in a virtual format. So with this though, I think it's really allowed us to reflect on our programming, and it's going to allow us as we move to the other side of COVID-19 to actually address some of our stakeholder feedback from past. So this is going to allow us a reduction in travel time, a reduction in lost work time in accessing our system, and an improved accessibility. I think that we'll be able to find that we're even more able, more agile to be able to deliver education in more remote communities in a cost-effective, high-quality manner. Some of our other strategies has been to implement virtual examinations. So we've done this for our level courses, and we've done this for our intermediate practical examination, and we'll continue to do that for our advanced practical examination and intermediate practical examination here again in the spring. In addition, we were able to successfully virtually host our advanced case history examination as well as our advanced multiple choice examination just prior to the holidays. So as I wrap up, having said a few times that this whole system really has been powered through the power of volunteers, I'd like to take a moment to just recognize all of the members of the Education Committee. So this is our group of dedicated volunteers who dedicate their time, many of them for many, many years. And this is the Education Committee. So Josiane Robert, who is our Credentials Chair, Evelyn Lightly, our Examination Chair, Andrea McAllister, our Curriculum Chair, and we'll take just a brief moment of pause because she has been so instrumental in getting our educational materials completed and up and running. Jennifer Van Bussel, who is our Mentorship Chair, Andrew White, Communications, Blaine Burrows, who is our Adjunct Education Chair, and I know that Blaine is working on some exciting projects as well that we hope to hear more about soon. Now I always like to acknowledge and take a moment to thank Jazz Deer and now Roxy Azuri, who is coming in and transitioning as liaisons from the NOD executive. Hillary Reeves has been on our committee for many years, and at the time of COVID, when we had to shut down and reimagine our AIM education system, Hillary stayed on with us as part of our AIM task force in order to get our educational delivery up and running again. And I also want to take a moment to recognize Colleen, who is not a volunteer, but we so welcome having a paid operations manager here with the orthopedic division, because it certainly has done wonders for our workflow. So just to take a moment, it's always difficult in these times, and when we talk about looking at the challenge of delivering hands-on learning in the era of COVID-19, I think it's important to take out a moment and to say that, you know, we will not have failure, only success and new learning. So thank you so much for your time tonight, and I really welcome any questions at this point.
Great, thank you, Heather. So we do have a handful of questions that have come in so far, so I'll get through them in the Q&A. So our first question of the evening was, can level 1 be challenged only after graduating?
Sorry, can level 1 be challenged when?
Only after graduating from your university program. Or
No,
can it be challenged?
Yeah, you don't have to successfully have completed your education program in physiotherapy. So many of the candidates will be challenging it typically during their last quarter of their education system. But you would want to have ensured that you have completed all of your MSK education, as well as being in your senior clinical placements.
Okay. Next question. So if you've already taken level 2 and 3, will you have access to the new ebooks?
So if you've already taken level 2 and 3, it depends on when you came into the system, as well as you need to be looking at moving forward. So either registering for the intermediate practical examination and moving forward into the next step, and then you'll be given access to the manuals.
So along the same lines, if you're an FCAMT with the old manuals and you want to upgrade, how can we purchase the new manuals and what is the cost?
So if you would like to get access to the new manuals and you're currently an FCAMT, the requirement or the best way to gain access is to register as a mentor with the Orthopedic Division Education System. And then you'll be able to purchase the manuals, and that's a one-time purchase cost. And I believe the cost is $180. Or actually, it's $100 for the mentors coming in that way.
Okay. Next question. I don't know if you can answer this. Will there be a level 1 course offered in Ontario in 2021? I did not see one on the OrthoDiv website.
I'm not currently aware of a level 1 that is in planning process, but if somebody is wishing that a level 1 be run in some region in Ontario, then I would encourage them to reach out to their local section, PODCR or local section chair, and request that there be consideration for running a level 1 course.
So in Ontario, can you just run through the sections available?
Yeah, so Ontario, you're looking at, you have the Toronto section or the Ontario section, the Ottawa section, and then the London ortho unit as well. So you could look to whatever is closest to you geographically reach out to them and see if there might be interest in organizing a level 1.
Great. Next question. So about the mentoring hours, can we start counting them after finishing one of the level 2 courses, or can we only start after we've done both upper and lower?
No, you can start as soon as you have taken a level 2 course, you can start to collect your mentorship hours. We do encourage people to not front load their collection of mentorship hours too early in their educational development, because we really do look at that as preparation for the intermediate practical examination. But by all means, you can certainly start to collect some of those hours after your first level 2.
Will participants in the future, post-COVID restrictions, be able to, 1, choose if they want to participate in either in-person or synchronous lectures, or 2, will future courses automatically be hybrid, or 3, return solely to in-person format?
That's a great question. And I would say that post-COVID, and I think when we look at COVID, I think we all realize at this point in time that moving out of COVID is going to be a transition. And so I think what candidates can expect to find is that our educational system will go through that transition with COVID. So at this moment, our in-person delivery is really scaled so that it is technical skill development only, with all other elements of our education system being delivered online. I think as we move through COVID, we'll start to find that we will pick up perhaps more in-person contact time and have less time that's online. But I would say that as we come to the other side of COVID, that we will continue to see that elements of our programming will be delivered in a hybrid model. So where we will utilize some of the virtual environment, perhaps looking at utilizing some asynchronous content, and then in person. And I think that as we move on the other side of COVID, we probably will come up with a framework that provides some flexibility and adaptability that can be utilized across the country in order to meet the really diverse geographical needs that Canada presents.
Perfect. So next, on average, how long does it take to work your way through the system to complete all levels and become a fellow?
So I would say that most candidates take 4 to 5 years to move through the system. Probably 5 years is the average.
Okay. There's a couple of questions now about level 1. So one question, how and when can we start a level 1 course? And the second question is, how can we go about challenging the level 1 course? Do we register on the website?
Yeah, so you'll find information for challenging the level 1 examination on the NOD website, and that's posted, and the exam coordinator is Kaylee McMillan. So her contact information is there, and she'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions and accept your registration when that time comes. And then we are currently running that examination purely through virtual invigilation. So we're quite adaptable, quite flexible. We will be transitioning that level 1 challenge examination to an online platform as well, so that it will be computer delivered. Currently, it has been a paper bubble sheet, but we will be moving forward and transitioning that to online computer with virtual invigilation. And then when can people start a level 1 course? You can start that as soon as you have successfully completed your professional training in physiotherapy. So you don't have to have completed the physiotherapy practical competency examination, just the written component competency examination for all those that applies.
Thank you. I think we touched upon this already, but if we can loop back. So can we only do level 2 and 3 upper quadrants?
Yeah, so you can, when you come into the system, you can come in, if you choose to start with a level 2 upper course, you can take that level 2 upper, and then you can proceed on to level 3 upper, if that's your choice, versus having to go across and take level 2 lower quadrant. And it sounded almost like the question is, can I take only those courses? And that might be applicable. I could imagine perhaps somebody is maybe working in an upper extremity facility. So that's the area of their practice. And so certainly, by all means, if that's your choice and if that suits your educational goals, by all means, so you could take the level 2 upper and the level 3 upper, and then you could choose to finish the program at that point in time if that was your decision and if you had achieved your goals.
Great. So we have about 10 more questions if you're good to continue, Heather.
Sure, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. So if you have completed level 4 and are waiting to take the next available level 5 in Ontario, will you already have access to the new manuals?
You wouldn't currently have access to the new manuals, but once we open registration for the level 5, then you will get access to the new manuals with that, yeah.
Perfect. Next question, is there a list of qualified therapists to mentor under, and what happens if there isn't anyone in my particular city?
So there is a list on the Orthopedic Division website. You can access the mentor directory, and so then that'll provide you, and you can search that for your geographical region. I would suggest if you find yourself in a position that you're not able to access a mentor that you can find within your geographical region. So there's 2 strategies with this, because we do allow at this point in time up to 50% of your mentorship to be acquired virtually. So you can access a mentor in another geographical region, which I think is a significant strategy for people to utilize. I would also encourage people to reach out to the mentorship chair, because she may be able to assist you in finding suitable mentorship for you in your region. And then some individuals then will reach out to somebody perhaps in another geographical region and arrange to come and do some intensive mentorship. So they might, if they were coming from well north, they might come down to a community more south and arrange mentorship for 2 or 3 days in order to acquire the rest of their hours. And then they can acquire a number of hours virtually as well.
Thank you. Is it possible to write the MCQ exam or any of the exams in French?
Yes, of course. Our system is fully translated to the French language. We offer our system across the country in the French language. So all of our MCQ examinations are in French. Our case history is in French. And if you move through into the intermediate practical exam or advanced practical exam, those as well are in French language.
Perfect. How often is the critical appraisal and integration of evidence into healthcare practice course offered? I have not been able to find any information on this course, running costs, timeline, etc.
Yeah. So this course did not run in the fall when it typically would run because of COVID-19 and because it really put such a halt on our education system at that time. This course is going to be running in April. It will start, I think it's April the 3rd or April the 5th. And it will be, it is going to be advertised through Western Continuing Ed very soon, and the registration portal will open. In the meantime, I would suggest that you email Colleen Dorian, and she has a list that she is keeping for expressions of interest in this course. And then she will ensure that she notifies everybody on that list as soon as that portal opens for registration.
Thanks. Next question, I don't know if you can speak to, but does the level 1 course information overlap with the physiotherapy national exam or help you to prepare for the national exam better?
You know, I'm not, you know, the questions on the physiotherapy competency exam, I'm not privy to in any way. But I would have to say that I think any level of advanced education is always going to help you in your preparation, both for your physiotherapy practice day to day, but also in looking at any other examinations or evaluations in physiotherapy.
Okay, we have another question here asking what's the difference between taking the AIM program and the programs offered via Western, McMaster, and UBC?
Yeah, so the programs, the curriculums are slightly different, but in those programs, you have a common endpoint. So those programs have accreditation as well and recognition by CAMT. And so all of those programs can lead you to becoming a fellow of the Canadian Academy of Manipulative Physiotherapists. I think that when you look at and evaluate something like the NOD AIM program, and then look at some of the more university-based programs, that there's generally going to be aspects of each program that perhaps suits your life circumstances and your goals, that is unique to you and what would kind of suit how you would like to receive education. So I would say that the AIM educational program, it suits people who would like to engage in education at their own pace. So there isn't a commitment when you start to, this is when I have to be finished this program. So it allows you that adaptability and flexibility as you move through your educational goals. If you are looking at some of the other university-based programs, that's an entry point and generally a relatively fixed exit point on the other side. But that certainly is going to suit some individuals' educational goals as well and their life circumstances. So I think that when you're looking at the two ways in order to come to that common endpoint, it really is a reflection on who you are as a learner, how you like to receive education, and what is going to align best with your current life circumstances.
Thank you. Next question. So can a person count membership hours towards the advanced exam after completing the intermediate exam before they start the level 4, or do they have to have begun the level 4 before starting those mentorship hours?
So those mentorship hours start with the level 4. So that's when the clock for that would start.
Thanks. We have another attendee who's asking that they've heard a rumor that both the intermediate and advanced exams will be occurring twice a year due to COVID. Will this continue post-COVID or return to one time a year?
So I think that we certainly recognize that for the next couple of years that we'll have to be adaptable given what has happened within our educational system in the last 11 months. And so as we come through into the spring, we'll be looking at delivering both the intermediate and advanced practical exam in order to suit our candidates' needs and expectations. We certainly also understand that we're likely to have to continue within that framework, perhaps next fall, and then we'll be looking at reevaluating from there. I think at this point in time, there's probably an expectation that we will return to our prior mechanisms where we were offering the advanced examination, so all aspects of the advanced examination in the fall, and then the intermediate practical examination in the spring. But it might take us a little bit of time to get back onto that cycle. But we certainly are committed to our candidates that are in the system and meeting the needs of our candidates in the system in the most timely manner that we can at this point.
Okay. Next question. So if you took the level 3 courses about 4 years ago and are now wanting to challenge the IPE, is it necessary to purchase the new ebook, or can we still work off of the old manuals?
I would say that if you were going to be challenging the new exams, that you would want to purchase the new ebook in order to prepare for that. The content and the material has just changed that significantly, that it really is in your best advantage to do so. It's not going to be required, but it will be in the best advantage to do that.
Next question. If someone is a certified FCAMT, is that certification recognized outside of Canada? Is it mutually recognized? And if not, are they allowed to challenge exams in other countries? and if you have any idea which countries we are allowed to challenge in.
So your credentials, if you're a fellow of CAMT and have successfully completed an educational training program here in Canada, you will be recognized by all other member organizations, all other countries. So your credentials are portable and you won't have to challenge in that country.
Good news. Next question. Yeah. Is it common practice to pay a stipend or fee for the time that the mentors are providing mentorship? If so, what's the hourly rate?
So there's variability that individuals will encounter in this. We do, within our policies and procedures, we do have a recommended rate that we have outlined for mentors. I think that you'll find variation across the country as to what mentors charge for their time in order to deliver mentorship. And really, I think that comes from the spirit upon which we were built. We were built on a spirit of volunteerism. And many of us that have come to where we are today came through and developed our skills and credentials based off that spirit of volunteerism. And so many of us in the system like to give back what we can and when we can. But having said that, everybody works hard, and at times mentoring by volunteer is really, it becomes unreasonable. And so there are reasonable fees that are associated with that. And those are outlined within the policies and procedure manual.
Okay, we've had a few additional questions add themselves on here. So we still have about 10 minutes. So I think we should be able to get through them. We have about 8 left now. We do want to address everybody's questions. This is an information session after all. So is there any further information available on the research component of level 4-5 at this time?
On the research component of the level 4-5 courses?
Yeah, maybe the attendee who wrote that question, maybe you can clarify the question and we'll move on to the next one for now. Okay, so next question, is it possible to be working full-time, part-time at the same time as taking the continuing education programs for level 4 and 5? For example, like the one at Western, what is the typical format for these programs?
So I am involved in the program at Western, so I can speak briefly to that. And I would not want to speak to the other programs because I'm certainly not as familiar with those. But certainly in the Western program, while people are in that program that does run 10 months in time, we don't recommend that people are working full-time. We're recommending more towards 24 hours a week of clinical practice.
Perfect. Is there a divide in MSK practicing physiotherapists that the AIM program, excuse me, let me reread this. Do a lot of the MSK physios not pursue the designation due to cost? Is the cost a barrier to the entry in the program?
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to actually hear more from candidates, because I feel like grassroots candidates that are looking at reflecting on coming into the system, perhaps what they've heard about pros or cons of entering into the AIM education program. I did want to address cost because I do know that I've heard that from several candidates when I've been teaching and delivering courses. I've heard that this has been a consideration or a barrier to access and the cost of the courses. And I think that's when you look, if you're looking at it as level 2, upper, lower, level 3, upper, lower, 4 and 5, I think when you lay that out and put that total together, it maybe looks like a lot kind of from the outset. But I really always want to come back and break down, because I've certainly looked at many other systems that are delivering post-professional education. And when I look at the per day cost, our per day cost is lower than any other educational program that you'll find around.
Okay. With one theory manual and for theory exam purposes, is it clearly identified in the manual which information applies to various levels?
So the curriculum and the curriculum requirements are outlined at the start of each clinical manual. So it will outline for you what the curricular requirements are. Let's just say if it was a level 2 upper course, all of the curricular requirements are outlined there. So it'll provide you all of those references. It doesn't provide you the direct links into the theory manual, but it does require, or it does outline the curricular requirements.
Okay. Are you still grandfathered in to not have to take the critical appraisal course if you started the system early, for example, in 2012?
That's correct. So the critical appraisal course is required for all candidates who entered or registered for their level 1 after January 1st of 2014. So if you started the system prior to that, then you are grandfathered from the critical appraisal course. I guess the other exemption that I can highlight is that if you have acquired a professional master's degree, so an MSc or PhD that is not your professional training program, then, and you have a critical appraisal course within that, then you also are not required. You'll have advanced standing for the critical appraisal course. But just to clarify again, we don't consider the professional training masters to be the equivalent.
So to clarify, the MCLSC is not the equivalent.
So if you were looking at the Masters of Clinical Science, if we're referring specifically to Western's program, so if you've taken Western's Masters of Clinical Science in Comprehensive Musculoskeletal Physiotherapy, then yes, the critical appraisal course that you would have taken within that program would qualify.
Perfect. What is the cost of the IPE?
Oh, I'm not great with numbers. If I happen to have somebody who's on here who knows that amount, that would be fantastic if they could type that into the chat, because I don't have that off the top of my head. But it's always posted on the site.
All right, and last question that we have right now is if we can confirm the level 2 and 3 multiple choice exams are based on the new manuals and the new ebook material.
Yes, so we had transitioned prior to COVID to the lower quadrant clinical manuals. So those had transitioned to those manuals and examination content was based off those. The level 3 content, we had transitioned to the curricular content. The upper quadrant manuals have just become available, but we had transitioned to that curriculum in our delivery. So moving forward, as you are now completing any course level 2 or level 3, your curricular content will be based off the new clinical manuals and theory manuals.
Great. So I think that is all the questions. We've managed to get through everything that's popped up in the chat and the Q&A. So I hope that we've been able to answer everyone's questions here this evening. I'd like to again thank Heather for taking the time to put this together for us and to so graciously answer all of these questions. I think that was really informative and helpful. And should anybody have any further questions with regards to the subject, you can always send them my way. You can find my email on the NOD website, and I'd be happy to reroute them to the appropriate person that can answer the question for you. So again, thank you, Heather. Thank you, Jazz and Colleen, for being here, and I wish you all a very good rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone really for attending this and being so engaged in your post-professional education. I think that's fantastic.
Thanks. Have a good evening.